Welcome to the Infinite Spark of Being podcast. My name is Keith Welsh, and today you are going to drive down the not so sunny South Florida Beach Road with me. First thing in the morning here, sun is just coming up. We're going to talk about a concept or a phrase that some of you are very familiar with, others not so much, but the phrase is a God of your understanding, this idea of developing a relationship of God, with God, of your understanding. We're going to talk about the benefits of that idea. We're also going to talk about the pitfalls of that idea. But before we do that, go to theinfinitesparkofbeing.com. You'll notice there's a new picture there on the first page. That is a portion of the cover of the new book, Awaken, Finding Our Way Back Home. This book is like the other books, filled with poems and little essays. Now it's filled with long essays, and it's filled with spiritual practices, easy, attainable spiritual practices that you can incorporate right away. Stuff that over the years has benefited people I've worked one-on-one with, that I continue to work one-on-one with, and now it's in the book. So that will be out shortly. I'm done writing it. Now I'm just laying it all out. Like I've said before, I do everything myself, all of the artwork. Everything you see is me. So on that note, if you appreciate this podcast, if you appreciate the content that I provide, go to theinfinitesparkofbeing.com, click that Patreon donate button, and donate money through Venmo or PayPal, or just sign up for the Patreon where we meet the first Wednesday of every month. It's an awesome little community. I love it. We have a good time. If you want, click the About button. Read a little bit about me. See what I could offer you. If you're interested in booking a one-on-one session with me, maybe you want to deepen your understanding of meditation, start a meditation practice, deepen your understanding of any of this stuff. Maybe you're interested in thought transformation or restructuring, which is a technique I've developed over the years, which moves traumatic experiences around in the brain to a place where they no longer affect your nervous system. Remove ruminating ideas, thoughts. Again, it is what it says. It's thought transformation and restructuring, or simple grief and loss, or complex grief and loss. At least if you think it's complex. It's usually a little more simple than we thought it was. But if you're interested in that, reach out through email or Instagram direct message, and we'll set something up. Also, don't forget the new store. Again, that's all my artwork, so buy it. All right. Okay, so a God of your understanding. This is a problem for people. And okay, this is probably gonna be bristly for some folks, and I understand why it is, and I get it. Sorry, that's my windshield wipers. It's a little misty, a little rainy. The word perception means the way we regard, understand, and interpret something. Often our perception of things isn't necessarily our perception. It's the widget thing I've talked about, right? They told you what the thing was. They told you what the symbol meant. They told you this. They told you how to feel, right? And then it goes back to that Carlos Castaneda quote that I love so much from Journey to Islam, or Separate Reality, where his shaman, Don Juan Matus, says, you live in a description of reality, and you've been beaten over the head with that description from a very early age until you repeated it back to them. God is a classic situation where it's a concept. Look, I've taken mushrooms just like the next guy, but we don't really know, because even when we're in these psychedelic states, and we're having these intuitive experiences, it still runs through the filter of the mind. That's not bad, and that's not dismissing our experiences. Look, I've had them too, but we have to understand that you are still experiencing that through a set of filters. Yes, I understand that you believe that the filters go away. And with some substances, everybody does have the same experience, which Queens College is doing those extended DMT studies, which is fascinating as hell. But when we're talking about breath work, psilocybin, whatever, it's still going through a certain amount of filters. So our understanding of it, right? And the thing that made me want to talk about this is I'm flipping through Instagram, and since I've been talking about God more, the algorithm seems to think I mean the Christian understanding of God, which that's fine. There's a lot of great stuff in the Bible, just like there's a lot of great stuff in the Quran. But this kid, he's talking about his near-death experience, and he's teary-eyed, and he's peddling some sort of course. And he's talking about how he died, and he talked to Jesus, and that's how he knows Jesus is real. And if you sign up for his course, he'll tell you what Jesus told him. I know 98% of you are rolling your eyes, and the few of you that might still be a little dull are fascinated. This is an experience that he had. Now, it doesn't mean that it didn't affect him. It doesn't mean that it's not real to him. But if you've been listening to this long enough, if you've been hanging out with me long enough, you know what objective means and what subjective means. And you also know that something being objectively true or real isn't necessarily important. In fact, I would say it's not. Our subjective experience is vital. Now let's go back to the phrase, a God of your understanding. I've written about this and talked about it before. I'm 15. I am surfing at the Jupiter Reef Club. Some of you that might be semi-local will know what that is. It's the sun's coming up. I'm out there by myself on my old purple Local Motion surfboard. Those of you that surf remember those. Or no, I was on, it was my purple Local Motion. I thought it was my TNC surf design. So you have to be pretty old to remember TNC. The old yin and yang symbol in it. But I'm out there, and I had what in hindsight was my first unity consciousness experience, where a presence just filled everything. The only way I could describe it is it descended onto the moment and was just, there. It was just, and it was this, what Krishna talks about in the Gita, of this unifying, it's just, I felt unified with everything. And in that moment, due to my filters, due to my understanding of God, I said, oh, that's God. This proves that Christianity is real. That's literally the thought that I had. See? And if everyone was a Christian, they would have this experience too. Now, fast forward a lot of years, and you're having these experiences with other means, and you are meeting people that don't know anything about Christianity that are describing this. So it's a perception of God, of your understanding. And that's great. Now we get into the freedom of this. God, as a human being, is a concept. And like we've talked about before, belief is essentially this non-quantifiable thought exercise. And that's not bad. Please don't take that as bad. And I know that hurts, because some of you are still in that place where you really, really, really need this objectively real and true experience. I've been there, and I get it, and I'm not saying this to the experiences you're having are very real. They're very real. But if things were objectively real, then everyone would be having that experience, and they're just not. And that doesn't mean that other experiences aren't valuable, and it doesn't mean that your experience isn't valuable. It just means that, hey, our souls have different curriculum. The subtle body that my soul, that me, as the soul traveling, transmigrating, brings with it is different than yours. And it doesn't mean that it's just, man, I hate it, because I never want to upset somebody's thing. It says in the Gita that it's a sin to upset the intelligence of people, which I know is a bit of a contradiction, but that, it's not great to flip everybody's apple cart over, And if you're thriving and your system is killing it for you, then fuck, by all means, keep doing it. Like, I've been saying in the new book, I'm like, nothing I'm telling you should ever be a replacement for what you're doing. Could it be your one and only practice? Absolutely. But think of it, everything that I'm saying, as a supplement to what you currently have. But let's think about this, right? My understanding of God, like if you take God as a widget, as a symbol, the meaning and the value and the whatnot applied to God wasn't my experience. It was my parents, it was the church, it was all of these people who, you get a little older and like you realize like they believe what they believe out of fear. You were given this fearful, vengeful version of God. Right? You know, and I got older and, you know, I'm reading the Bhagavad Gita and I'm reading the Ramayana, and Krishna and Rama as incarnations of Vishnu, right? And reading about the qualities of Vishnu, the sustaining aspect of God, not Shiva, not Brahma, but Vishnu, right? Like you look at Krishna as a baby, Gopala, like he was fun, mischievous, wise, like even in the Mahabharata, Krishna, who said he wasn't going to fight, but he would command the chariot for Arjuna, at one point gets so mad at Bhishma on the on the other team, so to speak. He breaks off a chariot wheel and runs at Bhishma to crush him with this wheel, and Arjuna stops him like, please don't, please Lord, don't do this. Right? That when we talk about qualities of God, I like the qualities of Rama in the Ramayana. I like the qualities of Krishna, the supreme enjoyer, the supreme personality of Godhead, that depiction, right? Even the depiction of Jesus as a manifestation, or emanation rather, meaning just not separate, but an emanation of God. You know, whether it's objectively true and we can prove it, you know, I'm not really interested in that. Because the understanding I had of God made my life difficult. It made my life hard. It made my life shitty, you know, because you're constantly under the watchful eye of some invisible pervert that's watching you shower. Or it's this other idea where God is just everything in between the molecules. It is so unfathomable, and you can't understand it with a human mind. As long as you bear the human body, you'll never fully understand. Oh, it's a beautiful sunrise. You'll never understand God. So what do we have? We have concepts that we can refer to, belief systems we could adhere to, and that's what we have to work with. So when we say a God of your understanding, not we, but for instance, in AA, that is the language that gets used, you know? And you have individuals who have been raised in churches, the fire, brimstone, Catholic Church, guilt-ridden, you know, punishing, vengeful, jealous, you know, and then now you got to make this concept happy. And now you essentially have a new parent that is much more stern and completely invisible, and you don't know where they are. And I don't know if that helps people. I don't know that is... I mean, you see people more guilt-ridden and shameful when they're in that world, you know, of the Abrahamic concept of God. You know, I have wonderful clients that are Christians that don't seem to be affected by that. They seem to be fine. But then I know people that it's like they just beat themselves over the head, and it's just this self-flagellating, you know, idea that they carry around with themselves. So think about that. Consider, what is your understanding of God? And is it your understanding or is it their understanding? Whose understanding is it? Is this your direct experience with the Almighty? And if it is, did you have your experience? Were you primed to have your own experience, or were you primed to have their experience? You see, you go to a movie and you already have an idea of what this thing is, and you watch it through their lens, right? That's what's happening. If you're, I heard this really great analogy about perception, and it was like, when someone says to, go get the salt, and you go to the cabinet and you're standing there and you're going, I don't see it, where is it? It's not here. And they're like, no, it's on the third shelf. You're like, I'm looking at the third shelf, I don't see it. And then they walk up behind you and they go, it's right here, and they show it to you. And in that moment, your eyes saw that. It didn't not see the shape in front of it, but your mind wouldn't allow your brain to perceive it, I guess, and that's, I think, a great analogy for life. Like, how much of this is just, you are unable to see it with the current filters you're using, you're looking for certain things to be true that are just, not gonna be true, because your mind aren't, you might you might want something to be true for you, but your mind is not allowing it, which goes back to prayer and affirmations and mantras and things like that. So, a God of your understanding. Interesting concept. It's an interesting idea. And if you can work with your understanding, then you improve your understanding of God. If you can expose yourself to different things, to maybe a more beneficial or forgiving idea, or a more loving idea of God, or of God, whatever that is, right? Something to think about, something to look at. And for a long time, my understanding was tweaked in the wrong way. So I've worked with it over the years, and now I would say I have a very healthy relationship with God, a God of my understanding. And there were some people whose understanding and description of God seems more beneficial to me. It added to my life rather than it took away from my life. Instead of feeling fear, I felt love and comfort. So, okay, go to theinfinitesparkofbeing.com, click the About button, sign up for the Patreon for our first Wednesday of every month gathering. This month, February 7th, next month, I guess, February 7th, we will be doing prayer, affirmation, mantra with my compadre, Troy. Is going to join us. And if you just want to check it out without signing up for Patreon, $20 through PayPal or Venmo, all that information's on the website. Just be sure to get me your email address and check out the shop. We've done this so many times together, and this time I'm the one doing the talking. I love you. Bye-bye.